Sandrea from Sandrea's Monthly Musings for the month of June 2017. Gemini time, the twins of our mind. Gemini time is prime for managing our mind. In fact, I would invite you to take advantage of the full moon on June 10th to assist you with really aligning with the higher mind. When we resonate at the frequency of the higher mind, there is nothing we cannot do. Pamela Eaton from Tarot of the Spirit says that Mercury, which is the planet that rules Gemini, Mercury holds the keys as the transformer of the world. That means you hold the key as the transformer of your world, your life, and the world, the life. Alice Bailey, she's an incredible theosophist. And Alice Bailey concurs in her esoteric astrology that Gemini is, in her estimation, the most important of all the signs. Now hear me and remember that each of us, that you are composed of all the signs of the zodiac, regardless of where the sun falls, whatever your birthday is. So we all have that Gemini within us. If we didn't, we would have no facility for languaging, for connecting and communicating. We would have no ability to assess and reflect and all of that. So, yes, the sun is the giver of life. But what good is life without a mind? You're just a vegetable. There's nothing you can do. You can't recognize or reach out and connect and communicate. And we all know that without love, what's the point of it? Without love, everything is just chaotic. Without love, there is no real sense or purpose or reason to even be here. And in esoteric astrology, Venus is the ruler of Gemini. Mercury is the ruler of Gemini in exoteric, and Venus is the ruler of Gemini in the esoteric. Let's keep that in mind as we look at this month. So I would advise you to really take time out for reflection and meditating, and be willing to scrutinize yourself and notice where your flaws are, and establish your communication with the heavens, with your source, your God. Because Gemini, the reason why Alice Bailey says, there's many reasons, but some of the reasons why Alice Bailey says Gemini is the most important sign, because Gemini rules that duality that is inherent in life itself. That duality that all of us experience within ourselves. And she also concurs along with me. It has been told to me through my higher guidance that ultimately, when we begin living in our higher mind, we're going to find there's really only 6 signs. Once we come into wholeness, there's 6 signs, and that completes the flower of life. The 12 is that division, that dividing. And so, because Mercury is aligned with duality itself, it means that Gemini is aligned with duality itself. That means that Gemini is the sign behind all signs. So I would invite you to take time out to really reflect and manage your your mind system. It's not so much what happens to us in life, I'm sure you'll all agree. It's how we see it. It's how we view it. And how we see it, how we view it, how we think about it, how we believe it to be. Life begins lining up behind it because this is an intelligent, living, aware, conscious universe. Everything is aware and alive. The planets, the stars, the trees, everything. And you can find that out through doing testing yourself. Now this month is also really special. I mean, every year, Gemini time is the best time to, go in and re-oil and realign with our mind and make sure that we are aligned with the very highest of principles and that we are actually living in the frequency and the zones of the ideals of which we carry. That they're not just mental constructs, that we're actually vibrating and emanating them and living them. And so this is the month of the mutable. The mutable cross brings about conditions of great periods of change in our life. So I would see that the month of June we're going to see a lot of changes going on. That we can stay steady and centered in our own soul and our own divinity if we are managing our mind right. Because this month we literally have 2 T-squares going on. And the immutable signs. And because there's 2 of them, it's taking in, it's almost like living in a mutable cross. Okay? So we have the T-square of Saturn and Mars and Chiron. And that can be a little bit frustrating because Saturn says stop and Mars says go. Mars says hot and Saturn says cold. And so all of us are going to have to be balancing out the sides of our mind where, there's a side of ourselves that just wants to plow through and do it now. And Saturn's saying, you got to stop, you got to go slow, you got to have some kind of a plan. You've got to really be aware of what you're doing. So it's still a great time for moving forward on your goals and your purposes and your dreams and all of that. But it's a slower movement than normal if you take that into consideration, this opposition. Now the other T-square is involving Neptune and the Moon and the Sun. And actually we start the month off with that. It's occurring now as I'm recording this. And let's not forget that Neptune is in its own sign, Pisces. And in the highest aspect of Neptune, that's when we can connect with our soul, connect with our invisible, and connect with our immortal and the invincible. And that's what Gemini is ultimately wanting us to connect with. That's why Gemini is the twins. And I was shown, I was living in Maui, I was during my staff and sandals walk where all I was doing was paying attention and living by God, which is what I should be doing all the time. But I was doing that, and I had to do it because I had absolutely no money, and I was totally dependent upon God to bring it in to me. And during that time, I was shown that each of us is born twinned. That there is that invisible, immortal side of ourselves that stays in the heaven realms and is never touched by all the blasphemy that occurs in this physical living. And that it was our job to make time to connect, to just, ask, first of all, the power of prayer and the power of intention and the power of asking our source, our God, the heavens, for help, and asking for help to have those times where we just sit and get basked and are touched by our own soul, our own golden light of our true self, and fill up our mortal self. So our mortal is always connected. But are we in communication? Are we aware of this connection? Without awareness, it doesn't count, does it? So make time to get into connection and connect with the, with the immortal side of your own soul. Connect with the divine side of your own self. And again, I want to say there is no, how can I say, it's not, well, maybe Spirit doesn't want me to talk about what it's not. Just talk about what it is. Okay. Truth be told, that Mercury, as I said, is the ruler, as the exoteric ruler of Gemini. And it's no coincidence that Mercury is depicted as the magician. Because when we come from our higher mind, we look like magicians to that side of ourselves that was just flounging around when we first got here and trying to figure it all out and trying to emulate others and, trying to test our own view of things. As we mature and as we have lived our life and our walk, when we are aligned with the highest of our mind, then life is magical, because life lines up behind our mind, our thinking, our thoughts. And I want to share one personal story of mine that certainly changed my life and showed me the powers that were inside me and showed me how I can influence other people, not by getting in their business and trying to fix and change them, but by changing my own mind. And it happened. I was living in Sedona with my partner at that time, and I was still wet with my walk in Maui, my spirit walk, and man, God, I knew that God was the source of everything. So for me, and in a world where the laws aren't the way they are, in my world, the highest world is living by the laws of God. And that God was our insurance. And I talked my partner into getting rid of our car insurance and living by the insurance of God. And then I got caught speeding by a redneck cop that did not like my looks at all, or the fact I was in a hippie van with big dolphins painted on the side of it. And he was talking to me like filthy McNasty. And, it didn't even touch me. I noticed that was him. He was doing that. And I started to worry, oh shit, I blew it, I made Asa not get, let go of the insurance, and now we're going to get, because it was $1,000 at that time, I don't know what it is now, driving without insurance. And, oh my God, what do I do? And I caught myself, and I realized that life was lining up by all these worries. So I got really strong in myself, and in myself I screamed, and I yelled, God, there's no punishment in thee. I deserve to be set free. And then I began to look for what I knew I didn't have, and took my time. And as I did, I turned to the cop and I started talking to me like he was talking to him, like he was my best friend, and just kind of talking to him and saying, I don't know where he puts things, blah, 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 and my God, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what I said to him. But anyway, let's fast forward to finally, I guess the cop gets tired of waiting for me to find what I don't have, and he goes into his squad car to check me out. And when he comes back, he's a different person. He took off, his hat was out off his hand, and his first words, after being so derogatory, his first words out of his mouth to me was, ma'am. Ma'am, you can frame this. And he starts to hand me out of his other hand. The hat was in one hand, and he had this thing in his hand. He goes, you can frame this because all the 20 years I've been on the force, I've never done this. And I don't know why I'm doing it now. And he handed me a warning. He didn't even mention in the warning about the insurance, it was the warning about the speeding. And that was that. And that's when I realized, oh my God. I talked to his soul and he connected with it. And he was confused. He didn't know why he did that, but he could not give me a ticket. And if I had continued thinking the way I was thinking, it was going to be pretty darn costly. So that showed me that I did not have to be a victim in my life. And I had already known that by other series in my life, but this isn't about my life. This is about the June article. Let me come back. I got Mercury in Pisces. Let me get out of the ocean and, flop up on shore for a moment and get back into what's going on. But this story is of value to you to realize that you change your mind, and what's lining up to come at you, you can soften it. Because life is part fate. That's what we learn in astrology, is that life is fated. It's fated. It was fated just by the fact I came in as a Pisces rather than a Scorpio. Of course, in my draconic chart, I'm Scorpio, but that's another story. I came here as Pisces, not Gemini. And the family that I had, all of that is very karmic, and all of that is very fated. But what we do with what we're fated to utilize in this life, there is a lot of free will. And this is the month when we can increase our free will capacity by operating our mind in a true way. And one way, I'll give you one hint. First of all, we need to fully be in our body. A lot of Geminis are airheads. They can be out of the body. And I have a lot of Gemini in me. And I can be out of my body. Someone told me recently that I wasn't even in as far as my waist. And that's not a safe place to be at this time. We need to be fully embodied, fully aware and grounded. And you can go to my website, influenceyourstars.com, to my glossary page and reflect on grounding. And it's a very important tool to do. Number one, so be in your suit of your system. Number two. And number two, okay, that's number one, be in your suit, right? Number two is ask yourself if you're willing to be in neutral. Are you willing to let go of all your biases and prejudices? I mean all of them. And just sit in neutral, sit and watch what's going on in your life. Watch what's going on around your life. And because to know the only real response that can keep you in the frequency of your higher mind and keep you in your higher truth is a response of love to whatever's going on. Now, yes, we have all these emotions. We have the emotions of anger. We can be very angry about what we see going on in the world. But if that anger isn't fully filled with love, what good will it do but add more bombs to the world? Because anger is just another bomb in the world, okay? So that's the only real response that we're meant to have. And are we willing to marry the love with everything? There was a point at one time in my life that I was running a computer help desk, believe it or not, in the corporate world. And at the same time, I really wanted to be the high priestess. So there was a lot of personal help that people were coming to me for instead of just the computer help. And when my boss realized that, he went to the union, was trying to fire me. And I got really, the P word with a T at the end. And I got home and I was in the bathtub talking to Mother Mary, and I said, look, I know it's not a very high priestessy thing to do to be this angry, but I am really, really angry and I don't know what to do with it. And she was the one that told me. She said, you put love right in the middle of it and send it to him. Like the anger by itself, anger that goes into hatred, it'll just create a war. But anger with love, what happened, the short story is what happened, he reacted the first day, but I'm going to give you the third day. The third day, after I sent him that, that's all I did was send him that, I came into work and there was a terrarium on my desk. He walked out of the office and he said, come here. And I stood up and he gave me a big hug and said that he dropped all the grievances and he thanked me for all the work and the love that I was giving on the job. That was the power of anger when it's fused with love. And if we're willing, if you're willing to get off it, and to marry it, to marry that with whatever emotion you've got going with you, then all the emotions are yours to have at it. You can be as angry and full of rage as you want to, but you put the love in it. And if you do that, now you have positioned yourself to be in the frequency of your higher mind. Now you can be lifted into higher zones, because that's the highest offering. We're all invited to the big feast. We're all invited to this new home, to this new zone. That's the gift that Neptune is offering all of us. But we don't get to get that gift until we get off of our positioning, off of our biases, off of our victim, off of our pointing and ointing and putting the blame somewhere outside of ourselves. The whole universe is within, as above, so below. So let me just look at my notes and see if there's anything that I wanted to say. Yes, we just leave it. That yes, we have these magical powers within us. It's all there. It's all inside. But it will do us no good unless we recognize. And if you do not recognize your power, no problem. Use your intention, use your prayers, use your action to ask for it. Have the audacity to ask for what it is you truly want. You don't recognize your divine powers? Show me. I'm being told that there's powers in me that I'm not aware of. I'm open. And, make a space for the answer to come. And let go of your idea of how the answer should come. It could come through a dream, through a book, through a knock at your door. You ask and you will receive. That's the truth of it. Okay, I've gone on probably a little longer than I anticipated. I'm also planning to upload a video I did not upload last month. It was a video I did in May. And why I didn't choose it, I have no idea, because it carries incredible frequencies. And there are certain things that we want to be reminded of. And there are certain things that I talked about in May that are still happening in the month of June. And that's the changing of the nodes, that change from Virgo to Leo. We're in that change now. And this is our time to dawn our king, queen, little child. We want to dawn that. And we want to take a look, while we're checking out our mind system, check and see. Some of us, we don't want to grow up. We want to just stay a child. And that's not good, because we need to be author of our life. And the way we author our life is being queen, king, if you're a male, in your universe. And then there's some of us that's all we want to do is be the king and queen and be the boss and rule, and we don't want to be the little kid. But it's important that we be the little kid. It's the little kid where all that newness comes in, and the fresh new ideas and approach and creativity and love and beauty and all that good stuff, and the innocence. So I will put that video up too, for you to watch if you choose to watch it. So I tried to talk fast so I could get more in, because people are having a hard time looking at things that are more than 5 or 10 minutes. And my problem is I have a hard time keeping anything within those boundaries. And so, thank you so much for tuning in. If you did not tune in, I would not be doing this, and I would not be aware so clearly as to what's going on in our universe. And there's a lot going on. There's a lot I would love to share with you. New planets that are discovered, which means new capacities and powers that are available to us. And if there's requests, if you would like me to do such a thing, I will start looking at doing a webinar if I get some requests for it. If I get at least 3, I will hold a webinar and go over your personal chart and some of the new things that are occurring and how you can, incorporate and integrate that into your life. All the newness that's abounding and the love and the richness that's all around us and within us and above and below, the whole thing. So, again, thank you for tuning in, and I love it. I love those. Thank you, those of you who have reached out to me and either made a contribution financially or a contribution to me personally to tell me what's, how these musings are affecting you. Either email or make a comment on the YouTube, or I love phone calls. I still have the good old-fashioned landline. I don't even own a cell phone, so don't waste your text time with me. And I need a lot of time that's inward for reflection, but I also love connecting with you. It makes it all worth all the hours that I go through gathering and collecting myself so I can do this for you every month. It's my joy. And again, I'm going to, there should be a connection on YouTube or on this email, if that's how you're getting it, for a love donation button, because I am working with a computer guy who uploads and does a lot of things for me every month. I can't do this all by myself. It wouldn't be fun, and if it wasn't fun, I wouldn't want to continue doing it. So it's really fun if I get some financial help for this. And thank you very much for those of you that are in a position to and really want to. Thank you. So, share this with your friends if you're enjoying it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a magical time of it. Aho. Live in the flow. Ashe. Let magic light your rays and send all of your love out upon the universe and transform this world with your magical mind. Until we meet again next month, if not sooner.